So if you're a teacher, a mentor, a parent, or even a leader that has direct reports, at some point in your career, you probably had to ask this question: what's next for you? In fact, there's times that you probably look in the mirror and asking yourself that question: what's next for you? Well, when people think of what's next for you, they immediately think that means, what is your end point? What do I want to be? Where's my goal? But I have a different perspective to that. So first of all, if you think about what's next for you, I would like to take you on a journey. So let's just imagine, back in the day, you used to be able to go to these big toy stores, and there were aisles and aisles and aisles of toys. And you'd walk down this one particular aisle that had building blocks. And in those building blocks, there was tons of them. You'd see cars, you'd see boats, and then you get to the part where there was castles. Now imagine, if you could afford it, you would go and grab the castle you want, and you would take that castle home, and you're all excited, and then you open it up, and all you find are pieces. Well, you know what? Sometimes that's what it's like when you're trying to figure out the next step of what you're going to do. You end up with pieces. But eventually, you end up with the Taj Mahal. The time between those pieces and the Taj Mahal is the process, and I want to help you with that. So as you work your way through the process, there's different parts to think about. The first part is you have to first choose your castle. You have to decide what you want. Now, many people struggle with choosing their castle because they want to have multiple. I want to do this, this, and this. And that's okay at times, but eventually you do have to pinpoint and find exactly what you want, so you're able to break it down to see if that's truly what you really want at the same time. Example, as you're choosing your castle, instead of walking down the aisle and picking the castle that you prefer, what I would say is you are trying to find a career, let's say. And part of that walking down the aisle is talking to folks who have that career. Maybe going online and searching for it. And maybe even it might be somebody that does it. But eventually you have to choose. The reason why it's important to choose, because as you choose your castle, you'll be able to take it home. If you notice, most people take one, and then they're able to focus on it. Versus if you took 3, it may take you a lot longer to figure out if it's the castle for you. The next part you have to do is, once you get there, you figured out your castle, you take it home, you open up the box, you see these pieces. What's the next thing you're looking for? You're looking for the instructions. Because the pieces alone with the picture might not get you there. The instructions are going to give you a point-by-point identification of what you need to do. Again, if I use the example of a career that a child or that an adult is looking for, the way you find your instructions is you could do a job search, and you'll find resumes. You'll find different things that are telling you exactly what is needed for this role. As you look at the job description, it gives you the pieces to your castle. It tells you exactly what you need to do to get there. That's finding your instructions. The next part is you need to identify mentors. Again, roll back to you taking your castle, you found it. Now you got home, you opened it up, you surprised and you saw all the pieces. You now found your instructions. But if you're a child, the instructions and the pieces alone are sometimes just not enough. This is where you find your mentors. This is where your mom or dad or friend comes in to help you. And when they come, of course, they're not going to spend the whole time there. You eventually have to do some of it, but you need to find your mentors. And there should be different types of mentors. Types of mentors you should have is you should have one mentor that's already they're in the job. They've done it before. Someone who's built that castle before can tell you exactly what it's like to build that castle. They also could tell you exactly where the shortcomings are, where the pieces were more difficult to put together. The next mentor you should have is someone who's in the battle with you. Someone who's doing the same thing you're doing and going through the same challenges. Because you'll be able to bounce things off of them and share where things were difficult. They'll be able to tell you how they overcome it, and from your own perspective, a perspective just like yours. And then the last part is, of your mentor, you should have a mentor that is in charge, your boss, someone who can give you the connections you need as you're building it. So this would be the equivalent of the parent. But here would be your boss. Your boss is going to be your mentor. Now, of course, they may not be ideal. Most of the time they will be. But your boss is going to be able to give you the connections and give you all the things you need to get to the next step. 3 mentors. Now, you can have walked down the aisle, found your castle. You could have found the instructions, and now you have your mentors. But that alone is not going to get you there. You have to do the work. Without doing the work, it's not going to put itself together by itself. So just like in your career, you can have all those things going on, and if you're not there rolling up your sleeves and getting the work done, you're not going to get to the final product. It's just not going to be done that quickly. Now, if I were to finish this and say, hey, now we're done, you would be like, well, it's just not that easy. And I would absolutely agree. There are going to be things that get in the way of this perfect circle of choosing, finding, identifying, and doing that are going to slow you up. Let's just talk about a couple of them. Well, the first thing that could get in your way is resources. You may be missing pieces. If you've ever had a Lego castle put together, you may miss a piece. Fell on the floor, rolled over. There might be a piece of your building that's missing. This is the equivalent of not having the resources as you're trying to build your career. Could be financial, could be access. These are all the things that could be in the way. But if you use your instructions and deal with the pieces you have, you can slowly put parts together until you find the resources to do it. Another barrier that could get in the way could be just flat out your friends, your life, your family, your spirituality, your health. All of them can get in the way. I use that as the equivalent of other people being impacted by your path. When does that happen? Imagine when you had building blocks. If one fell on the floor and someone stepped on it, it hurt, right? But if your parents knew what you were doing and they knew that you were building something great, maybe they'll tolerate it a little bit more. Well, it's the same way in your career. As you're building it, yes, I can't go to the party. No, I'm not able to go out with you. No, I can't, make my way to your home today because I have to build my castle. If you let people know you're building your castle, and especially if you let your friends know you're building your castle, they'll provide you with grace. The other big one is just looking at the entirety of what you have to do. Looking at all those pieces and going, wow, I have to put them together. That building block castle I showed you earlier, it had 4,200 pieces. It's overwhelming. Well, that's exactly what can happen. Let me share a story with you. I have a friend named Dave. And my friend named Dave tells a story about when he had this building block castle. And he was excited about having it. And it was big and it had all these glow-in-the-dark pieces. And he was really excited about having it. He got home, he opened it up and saw all the pieces. And he burst out in tears and ran away and cried. Now, Dave's almost 50, and his friends, including me, and his family still tease him about that. But the reality of it is that's how it can feel sometimes. When you realize all the work that you have to do to get to the next step of your career, it can get so frustrating that you could be ready to just give up. But the good part of that story is he didn't. His brother helped him put it together. And this is, again, where having your mentors around to help you get through that frustration are really important. Now, there are going to be times that you get to the point where you have built your entire castle, and you go back and you look at it, and it may not look like the one that's on the box. The one on the box doesn't look like what I built. But guess what? Sometimes that's what you want. So you have to go back and choose your castle again. Look at the castle you built and then think, is this what I really want? I can tell you for me, I wanted to go into medical school first. And now I'm a hospital administrator. This is the castle I want. So just because it doesn't look exactly like the one on the box may not mean it's the one that will fulfill your needs. The other thing to think about as you choose your castle is that the castle you build now, those same pieces can be used to build another castle. You have a lot of the parts you need. Now you may need a few more, and then you have to choose that castle that connects with it. But the basis of what you've learned will help you grow. Now again, if I go back to what does it mean when I say what's next, What's next is not the castle. What's next is, what piece do I need to put down for it to work? If I have a piece that I put down, that's my what's next. It gives me small goals that I can celebrate, small goals that I can cheer about, and not get so frustrated that I'm not at the end point, because the end point may not be the one that you want after you learn a little bit more. That's the great thing of being able to choose your castle and pick one and focus on it, because it doesn't mean that's the end. What it means is you can use those same pieces to build your next career. So what I would say is, the most important thing as you're trying to find a career for you, for your child, for a friend, or for someone who reports to you, is first, you have to choose the castle. Tell me what you want. Tell me who you want to be. Tell me what your goals are, and then I can be very pointed at how to get you there. So you have to choose. Doesn't mean you're committed to it forever. It means you're committed for it today. Then after that, you need to find the instructions. Take the time out to figure out exactly what you need to do. Don't walk in blind. Ask questions. Mentor, shadow, do all those things that help you figure it out. Then identify the mentors that can help you. And don't just get one, get multiple. It's okay to have more than one. Different perspectives are good, especially when you have a perspective of someone who's done it before and people who are in that struggle with you, and then the person who's truly going to be your advocate and help you move forward. And then last but not least, you absolutely have to do the work. If you don't do the work, it's not going to put itself together for you. You have to do the work. And even though it may be exhausting, at the end of the day, you'll eventually get to your castle, which is the most important part, is getting to where you're at. So as you're trying to figure out and look in the mirror and say what's next for you, remember, it is not the final castle. It's the piece that you need next to get to your end point. Thank you.